What's good, everyone? OJ here. Welcome back to another video. Today we're talking about something that's been a little bit polarizing, considering that it's all rumor, but I don't understand why some people would be upset or this would be bad news based off of some of the videos that I've watched and some of the general consensus out there with some viewers out there with this rumor of the Nintendo Switch Pro, the rumored Switch Pro, having exclusive games for that system. In my opinion, based on Nintendo's history of anything that's been modular when it comes down to it, nobody should be surprised. But before we get into this discussion fully, please make sure you hit that like button and also subscribe if you're someone new. Now, let's go ahead and talk about this because I found this to be extremely interesting how some people were reacting as if this has never happened before, or as if this is some type of new territory or some type of crazy thing. And I wanted to first and foremost say, guys, the rumors with this is that like the Nintendo Switch Pro, apparently based off some information out there, is going to have exclusive games based for that system only. So if you have a regular Nintendo Switch or a Switch Lite, you're not going to be able to play some, select a few or whatever, games that are coming out for this new revision of the system. Now, the system revision has apparently like 4K upscaling on the dock, DLSS, maybe has a bit more RAM or power here and there. From what we understand, it's nothing crazy. So don't expect some type of massive jump from the regular Nintendo Switch, but it is a little bit of a jump in order to get certain games running on the system. And some people freaked out about this. Heck, I had some people come to my chat saying that this is horrible, or it's anti-consumer, or it's the worst thing ever, or that Nintendo's never done this. And I'm thinking, like, how? Why? What are you guys talking about? So personally for me, I mean, everybody should remember this, but personally for me, I was actually deep into the Nintendo 3DS. I had multiple versions of the Nintendo 3DS. I did have the Nintendo like Game Boy Color, I had the Game Boy Advance, I had all those, but I could never afford like more than like the base system or whatever, and I couldn't afford a lot of games. But it wasn't until like the DS/3DS era to where I can actually get quite a bit of stuff, and this is not new. The Game Boy Color, even if you go back and look, had tons of exclusive games for that. The Game Boy, or no more like the DSi. The DSi had exclusive games, but the Nintendo 3DS had some pretty notable ones, and big games be it that. So this is my new Nintendo 3DS. This is the Majora's Mask Special Edition. New Nintendo 3DS has the super stable 3D, has the bigger screen, of course. It's just a really nice, handheld. I actually really do like it. Really good. Got some fingerprints on there, but whatever. But yeah, it's actually pretty cool. I really love this. I picked it up pretty much as soon as I could. But for this system right here, there were actually quite a bit of exclusives for it, and even some big ones. So we also have here Fire Emblem Warriors for the new Nintendo 3DS. As you can see, it says only for new Nintendo 3DS, and also Xenoblade Chronicles 3D only for the new Nintendo 3DS. So since we've had a system, and we've had games that are exclusive to a revision, not a actual new system, but a revision of a current platform, this shouldn't be surprising to anybody out there. It's been done, and like I said, it's even been done the generation before with the DSi, and the generation before with the Game Boy Color. There were a ton of Game Boy Color games that were exclusive to the Game Boy Color. You had the original Game Boy, then you had the Game Boy Pocket, then you have the Game Boy Color, and there were exclusive games that you could play on there that you couldn't play on the original Game Boy. So to me, it's not anything surprising. Now, some people feel that this is a Nintendo home console and they've never done this before, so therefore it's kind of different, but you have to remember this isn't just a home console, it's also a portable as well. It's a hybrid, so you're going to see design things in certain aspects that we've seen before with a portable that Nintendo's done in the past, and also with the home console. It's not one or the other, it's both essentially when it comes to the style of games, console quality, but then also how it's modular and you can take it anywhere that you want and play it. They have to worry about battery life and other stuff like that. So when people sit there and say, oh, well, it's never been done for a home console, okay, well, the Nintendo Switch isn't a typical or traditional home console in Nintendo's sense with the set-top box and all of that. It has its own screen. You can take it and play it like a portable. There's very different things to this system. it is true in and true out a hybrid, a home console that you can take on the go. So that's what Nintendo's been marketing it as, and that's essentially what it is. Now, I did remember back in the Nintendo 3DS days, people did get upset about that, but it ended up not being too crazy with the games. And I personally feel that you wouldn't really be missing out on anything, because these games that would come, hypothetically, that would come to the new Nintendo Switch Pro, they wouldn't have been made for the regular Switch. Most developers are going to want to put games on the regular Switch because you want to be able to tap that huge install base. This Nintendo Switch Pro obviously isn't going to have anywhere near the install base of the regular Switch anytime soon or ever at all. It's very rare for a revision to outsell the base model, since the base model is usually on the market a lot more or a lot longer, and the revisions come out to extend the life. So I highly doubt that we're going to get a ton of games, but even if we did get a few here and there, these games wouldn't have been made for the regular Nintendo Switch. They would only be possible because of the extra horsepower or the extra RAM or the extra resolution or whatever the heck that they're doing with this, whatever it ends up being. So you're not missing out on anything. Just like Xenoblade Chronicles 3D, that game was a miracle that it was even made on the Nintendo 3DS, or the new Nintendo 3DS, I should say. But it's not like, oh my gosh, regular Nintendo 3DS users missed out. No, it wasn't possible on the regular Nintendo 3DS. So that's the reason why they made it towards the new Nintendo 3DS. Same goes for Fire Emblem Warriors as well, and any of the other exclusives that are on there. And that's kind of how it's always been with Nintendo's revisions of the systems. It's like, hey, this wouldn't have been made possible without this new revision here. Now, that is different from what Microsoft and Sony do with their revisions that they've had with this last generation, but this isn't Microsoft or Sony. And once again, Nintendo has done this before multiple times when it comes to like their systems. So it's something that shouldn't be shocking. I'm seeing people freaking out. I'm seeing people say, oh my gosh, this is the worst thing ever. How could this happen? As if it hasn't happened for like the past 20 years or something like that. Like 20 plus years, all the way back to the Game Boy Color and everything. And maybe some people were upset with it back then. Obviously, we didn't have social media like we have social media now, to where anybody can say anything at this point. But at the same time, like I said, I don't think you're missing out on anything. I just think that there's going to be extra stuff that we wouldn't have gotten. So let's say there's this big third-party game, the next Doom or something like that, and they're like, hey man, the last time that we tried to make this game on the Switch, it was extremely hard to make it. Like, it would really help us out if we actually had some extra horsepower so we can get this running efficiently and get it better and closer to the other versions of the game. So let's go ahead and let's make it on this Switch Pro or whatever the case is. And most of the people who are going to be interested in this type of game, like a Doom Eternal, probably want to be able to play it in a little bit better quality on Nintendo platform. So we can actually make that sacrifice and we can say, hey, it's going to be available on this only. So maybe it's going to be stuff like that. I don't think developers are going to want to only put their games on the new Switch Pro because it significantly cuts down your sales potential. So what this is going to do, it's only going to get games that wouldn't have been possible anyway on the platform. So that's just kind of my take on it. I think that people are just kind of getting kind of crazy, but I also feel that there is a segment of people out there that are thinking that this is going to be like some type of superpower computer Nintendo Switch hybrid that can play games for 10 hours and that can run games at 4K, 60 frames per second and all that. And yes, I'm kind of exaggerating just a little bit, but I do see some of those comments out there, and you guys just need to calm down. I think that if you're looking for that type of thing with this Switch revision, you're going to be like disappointed because it's a revision. It's not a Nintendo Switch 2. I do think that Nintendo is working on their next system. I do feel that that will come in due time. But for right now, and I think what they're trying to do is kind of build up the Nintendo Switch, the current model, and kind of boost its life or extend its life a bit more to where they can pass that 130, 140, 150 million threshold and become the best-selling Nintendo system of all time and the best-selling gaming system of all time, which it should be based on the current trajectory of games that we have and based on the current sales. It should be the best-selling system of all time because it's selling at a rapid rate. It's selling faster than the PlayStation 2. We on pace with the DS and so many other systems, you know, that it's already passed up. So I feel that Nintendo is kind of aiming for that with this system, and they still have a number of heavy hitters like The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild and Splatoon 3, for example, that are coming out. Pokemon Legends Arceus, Pokemon Diamond and Pearl remake at the end of the year. So there's quite a bit of stuff that's coming, and I feel that Nintendo wants to continue and extend this Switch life further, and that's the reason why this isn't some type of crazy jump or next generation type of thing. It's a current revision of the Nintendo Switch that's going to help out people with the 4K TVs and maybe get a few different third-party games down the line once the install base does grow up just a bit. So those are my thoughts when it comes to Nintendo Switch Pro potentially having exclusive games. I think that some people are blowing this out of proportion, and I think that we need to kind of wait and see what it's going to be first and foremost. But at the end of the day, don't be surprised if it does, because Nintendo's done it before, and don't expect it to be all these different games coming left and right here and there when it comes to exclusives. I think the majority of the big or new games that come from Nintendo's first party are definitely going to stay right then and there on both of the systems. Then you get some enhancements on the Nintendo Switch Pro, and then maybe some third-party games or even some bigger end games that can't be possible on the regular Nintendo Switch could come over to Nintendo Switch Pro as an exclusive. So what are your thoughts when it comes down to this? Let me know in the comment section below. All right, guys, that wraps it up for this video here. Check out the links in the description. We've got Twitter. Go and give us a follow on there. Stay up to date on all the latest gaming news and information. Also, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and share this video if you can. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll catch you for the next one. Peace.